I am not sure if it was a function of being raised in Texas, or just who my parents were, or just coming up in the late 80s and early 90s on the conclusion of the Cold War. But it was very clear from my father in my household that I was to wake up every morning and to be thankful for being born in the United States of America. Now, my father was not particularly, and is not particularly religious, so he didn't say, give thanks to God. That wasn't his language. But he said, be thankful that you were born in the United States of America, because our self-understanding at the time was that this is the freest and the richest and the most powerful nation on earth, and it was only by random chance, by a roll of the dice, that I ended up being born here and not somewhere else with more struggles. And I think about that a lot, because that habit's never gone away. I'm still very thankful to have been born here, but I think early on in life, it also taught me to have an approach to Thanksgiving that was not based in myself. Because my country of birth was random chance, I could not take any credit for it. I had a responsibility to it, but I could not take any credit for it. And so when I began to be more religiously oriented, when I began to understand God, the Lord, I had that same approach. I have all of these blessings, I need to give thanks for them, and I can't take credit for any of them. That these are just pure grace and pure blessings. Now, some of you may have been raised with this approach to the country, others might not. Some of you might not necessarily think that today for various and sundry reasons. But I use it as an analogy for the kind of attitude I would hope we have toward being Catholic. The United States is a human institution, and particularly given what the devil says today about political power and how it's all in his control, and that's regardless of who the president is. This was written in 33 AD. Right? I probably shouldn't put my hope in a civil entity. I can be thankful, but I shouldn't put my hope in a civil entity. However, I can put my hope in the Catholic Church and in the Catholic faith. If I think that it is an incredible gift to be free and to be comfortable and to be wealthy and to be secure, how much more should I be thankful for the security and the comfort and the blessing and the wealth of my salvation in Jesus Christ? And it is a guarantee, in a way that a political reality is not a guarantee. But our salvation in Jesus and the gifts that we receive by being Catholic are guarantees. St. Paul says in our second reading here, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. Now, there is a point of dialogue here with our Protestant brothers and sisters. Some Protestant apologists will point to this and say, well, that's all you have to do. The only thing you have to do is to confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead. And you'll see Protestant evangelists going around and saying, okay, you have to pray the Jesus prayer and then you're saved. So there's a point of dialogue here. And yet, we're Catholic, so we claim all of the Scriptures. Like, we're not afraid of any of the Scriptures because we think all of them are from God. So even if we might balance this with other Scriptures about the necessity of following God through our actions, we also believe this. If you confess that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, that is going to result in your salvation. That is a guarantee. It's a guarantee that can be lost through our own action or inaction, but it is a positive promise. It is the default state of every Christian, that if you follow Christ, there you are. And therefore, our response should be thanksgiving. This is an incredibly beautiful prayer given to us in our first reading. It's a recounting of Jewish history. It's a recounting and saying, look, my father was a wandering Aramean, and then my ancestors were in Egypt, enslaved, and God saved them and took them through the desert. It's a recounting of all of the ways in which God blessed the people of Israel. But again, with that final conclusion that I started the homily with, and I can't take credit for this. Right? This is a Jew bringing a sacrifice to the temple and saying, I can take no credit for the blessings of my life. I'm bringing this sacrifice to God and thanking Him for all of the blessings that I've been given through no merit of my own. Because my fathers were these things and they suffered these things, and at every moment it was just God's blessing along the way. So I hope, given our guarantee of salvation through Jesus Christ, and given the fact that we cannot claim any merit that would cause that salvation, we can't say that this is my doing that I'm saved, that we can go to the altar of God. This is the fulfillment of the Jewish temple, this altar. This is where sacrifice is still offered in fulfillment of the law of God in the Old Testament. That we can go to the altar of God, that we can lay our basket of bread upon it. That is not an accidental part of the Old Testament. The Lord knew what He was preparing for. We can lay our basket of bread upon it, and we can give thanks to God for all of the blessings that we don't deserve. We can give everything into the hands of the Lord and recount our family history, recount our personal history, and say, by this winding, very curved road, the Lord has brought me here, and for that I am deeply thankful. A couple more notes on that. This does not depend on how you came to the Catholic faith. There are many people in this church who are cradle Catholics. You do not remember your baptism. You do not remember a time where you were not Catholic. That's the same form of thanksgiving, again using the analogy of the country, that a naturalized citizen, a natural-born citizen might have. I was just born into it, by no merit of my own, but I am so thankful for it. How blessed I am that I did not have to search for the true faith. I didn't have to search for salvation. It was given to me as a child, and I've never known a life apart from salvation. How blessed are we? Or you could be like me, where I came into the church at the age of 10. My parents divorced. My mom came back to her Catholic faith, and I followed her in. The term that somebody used for me once that I absolutely love is cradle convert. And I can tell you, I'm so thankful to be Catholic that from an early age, I'd say probably about 12 or 13, where I really began to give thanks for my Catholic faith, I could find in myself no bitterness over my parents' divorce. A childhood divorce suffers a lot of things, even if the parents do their best. And in a sense, you could say they have a natural right to be bitter or angry. But I never could, because it was only through my parents' divorce that I found the Catholic faith. And I was so deeply thankful for the Catholic faith that how could I be angry about something that gave me salvation? I couldn't, and I still am. I cannot find any anger at God or my parents, because the gift that I was given in return was so much better. Again, this winding road that brought me to a place that I'm very thankful for. Some of you might have made a very deliberate decision to become Catholic. And the temptation there is to think that you can claim some merit there. But I think you would be the first ones to tell me that you can't. That you came to the Catholic faith by a winding road. That somehow it was put in front of you. That you somehow found it and were attracted to it in ways that you still don't fully understand. That there were so many other paths you could have taken, and yet this is the one that the Lord called you down. That is the Lord, through no merit of your own, calling you to salvation. A call for which you should be literally, eternally grateful. Now, a final note. The guarantee of salvation given to us through the Catholic faith, because we know God in His fullness. We have the revelation of salvation without any deviation, without any falsehood. That should allow you to live your Christian life in boldness and security. Again, to use a civic analogy, it's kind of like going to all kinds of foreign countries with an American passport, and I do this, and maybe I shouldn't, but I'm like, well, I'm pretty safe. If I've got an American passport, not a lot is going to happen to me. Now, I don't travel to very many dangerous countries, so, your mileage may vary. But I think most Americans with that passport have that same attitude. Well, apply that to your faith. If you have the guarantee of salvation through Jesus Christ, then you should be able to enter into very difficult and very scary situations with boldness and confidence. The temptations that the Lord faces in our gospel today, He is able to address and push behind Him because He is so confident in the care and salvation that comes from His Father. He knows that His Father is going to take care of Him. He has no doubt at all in His mind. If you can approach your Catholic faith with no doubt at all in your mind that the Lord has saved you, and He saves you through the Church and the sacraments, then all of the winds of change and all of the storms of a society that is rapidly de-Christianizing, it has no power over you. It might make life difficult. We might have to struggle from time to time. But you should be able to approach this with confidence and boldness because it is a guarantee of God. And when you face temptation, when you face hunger, that's a stand-in for all of the bodily temptations we have, or when you face the temptation to greatness or fame, that's stand-in for all of the spiritual temptations we have, or when you face a doubt, where the Lord is told to test His Father by falling off the temple and seeing if He'll be caught, when you face a doubt, all of these fall away in the face of your confidence and trust in your God and in the revelation He has given you through the Catholic faith. My friends, that ability, that confidence, that boldness to be able to live in the guarantee of salvation, the guarantee that you are following God as He truly is and wishes to be known, that is an incredible blessing, an eternal blessing, a blessing next to which there is no greater blessing. And I hope that today and every day we can bring that blessing to the altar of God and give Him thanks for something that we do not merit but are so blessed to have received.